You're listening to The Practical Wealth Show with Curtis May.
All right, hey guys, welcome to another episode of The Practical Wealth Show. And so I have a special guest. So a lot of you have been following me on, where would you have seen this? On Instagram and on Facebook. I was a guest speaker at the Laundromat Millionaire Conference. And I had the distinct honor of meeting Mr. Waleed Cope, who's our guest today. And so he's a couple things. He's got a tremendous business in New York City, right? And within the dry cleaning, delivery, I'll let him tell you about what you're doing. And then he also has a great podcast with his wife, Jessica, Commerce and Chill, right? And I had a chance to speak to his wife. She's a beast in her own right, separately. Okay. And we were talking about, what's that guy? The guy from The Apprentice that she went to school with, the brother that won the Apprentice.
Oh, Randall.
Randall. I met him right after his book came out, after like about 6 months after The Apprentice in Philly. And I can't find the book right now, but he signed my book. And I realized he started in college, and I basically started my business in college. So we had that in common. We had a nice little, about a 15-minute talk after the meeting was over. So it was pretty cool. So anyway, let me tell you a little about Waleed. And that's a funny intro. And so he's an entrepreneur, he's an investor, he's a small business advisor who's developed multi-million-dollar businesses. So y'all want to listen, get your notepads out, right? And he's based in New York City. He draws on years of laundry operation experience to make the Soap Box a premier laundry, dry cleaning, and sneaker cleaning enterprise in the region. He has leveraged social media to build a dynamic network of other business owners and subject matters. And because guys, business is business. So once you get the foundation, you can translate it over, right? And so Waleed welcomes the opportunity to share his insights with the industry and as a whole, everybody. And and again, with his wife, they do a great podcast called Commerce and Chill that you should definitely listen to. I got it on my rotation now, Waleed.
Thanks so much.
So welcome, thank you, and welcome to the Practical Wealth Show.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure.
Yeah, my pleasure. So tell him what I didn't tell him. What'd you start, and how'd you get into this industry you're revolutionizing? And let's kind of give him a little insight into the mind of a millionaire.
So I don't know if you want to go too far into this mind. It can get a little, lost and maybe a little dark places in there.
Right. We both. Don't worry about it.
But we dibble and dabble in the two businesses that Jessica and I are partners in that we focus on primarily. The Soapbox, which was born out of our second generation laundry business. So my dad and my uncles got into the laundry business probably like 25, 30 plus years ago. They were in the supermarket business, acquired a property to move the store to expand their store. And in the back of the building was a laundromat and a barbershop. For whatever reason, they decided to keep the laundromat and not the barbershop, which I'm glad because I don't think I'd be too good at cutting hair.
Right.
And then Jessica and I also run Johnson Security Bureau, which is a third generation family owned business. Her grandparents started the business back in 1962.
Wow.
So we have our hands full with both businesses. The Soapbox was born out of our original laundromat, and we pivoted to business that focuses strictly on pickup and delivery for laundry, dry cleaning, and sneaker cleaning here in New York area. So those two things keep my hands full. And then we invest and we support other business owners, emerging businesses. We're part of different funds, investment funds where we're angel investors. So we're always looking at how we can do more to help other businesses grow it and as well give back, which is part of our podcast, Commerce and Chill, just telling about the everyday ins and outs of being in business, having partnerships, the ups and downs, and just telling it like it is. Like,
right.
There's no fluff there. It's exactly good days, bad days, all rolled into one.
I love it. I love it. So it's funny. We had that in common. My family was in the supermarket business also.
Awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. So we had little stores and then the little, I think they call them the poppy stores now. So we had those, and we had a little bit bigger store, and then we had a supermarket, then we had a fire, then two fires actually. One we built, the other one didn't work out that well. Then we were in a tavern business.
Wow.
So I grew up in retail and brick and mortar. And I got into the financial business I'm in college, and pretty much at 20, been doing it ever since. When I realized, my listeners will know the story, that the NBA was not looking for 5'11" shooting guard. So That is,
Web.
yeah. So, well, there was a few, Michael Adams and John Babb, I wasn't that good. So,
Okay.
but that's interesting, Nick. I wish we had that. I didn't even know of that business. I mean, we did, because we didn't even go to the laundromats, and it's funny because when at the conference, it's different than people think it is.
Totally.
And speak to that, like what, and yours dry cleaning based, but just that industry expanding out, because what I hear is like with the software you use, is what I saw was bringing that industry into 2022, into the 21st century, and kind of
Mhm.
bringing your marketing business acumen to that business, like a mom and pop business, and kind of really growing that. How did that progress? And then tell me a little about that journey.
Yeah, so it's like I love tech. So anything new, cutting edge, or it's going to make something streamlined, efficient. Like I just love technology and playing with it and learning from it and just connecting with different people. It forces you to think different. Like it allows you, like there are no boundaries. Like you sit there and you code something. Your limits are what you put on yourself when you're sitting there coding and building a product.
Mhm.
So back in the beginning in the laundry business, oh my goodness, like the why our industry is so behind in technology compared to others, we could probably have a 2-hour discussion on
Okay.
why that is. But growing up in it, we did full service, typical neighborhood laundromat. People come do their laundry, and it was a paper based. And we did that for years. And like I would press my dad over and over. I was like, can we get a computer? Like I'm tired of using the calculator. Like we had the old school accountant's calculator with the ribbon on it, and you're
Wow. Yeah.
taking it and like we're checking the receipts every time somebody like cashed out their drawer. We had cash registers, but the systems just weren't built to the capacity to handle laundry. So like
Mhm.
we had regular retail, like you see in the supermarket,
Mhm.
traditional cash registers there, and using those and then trying to hack it as I was growing up in the business. And then like tooth and nails, like, Dad, we need to get a computer system. We need to be more efficient. That way we can see sales in almost real time. We can balance the books faster. And then I don't know, that was like a 2-3 year journey for me. And
Mhm.
finally we got a computer system in the store. And Curtis, it was life changing for me. I was able to speed up the process in taking orders, getting clients in and out faster. Pretty like we used to go to a printer and have a book printed for our tickets. And I'm sure you remember back in the day when it was the not carbon paper, but whatever that duplicate sheets are, was the pink
Yeah.
sheet,
Yeah.
the
I know what
yellow
you're talking about.
sheet,
Yes. Yes.
and you had to like press really hard and make sure you put a piece of paper or cardboard in between so you don't mess up the other tickets. Like I was like, this is brutal. So once we switched to a computer system, like we quickly saw business change. Our efficiencies got better. We were able to process clients a lot faster. And then now, since we changed, when we were in the self-service industry for a while, I was in the store one day and I was just like, we serve two different types of clientele.
Mm.
And it's the clientele who comes to drop off their laundry dry cleaning for us to do for them. And then there's a clientele who wants to stay in the store a couple of hours and do it themselves. And I would just watch them bump into each other, or they would have to wait for an attendant to finish helping somebody with a machine and then go get their order. And I was like, we should have a separate business model just to service clients who want us to do their clothing, their garments for them. So we leased a space directly across the street from our self-service laundromat, and we created the soapbox, and we directed all those clients. We were like, go there now. You don't have to come to our store. And we did that, I want to say like late 2016, early 2017.
Mhm.
And we haven't looked back since we did it. And we've ended up pivoting the business numerous times where now we don't have a self-service laundromat anymore, and we only do drop off and pick up and delivery. So we're a full service business where we take care of all the garment care for our clients
Mhm.
and not for ourselves. And technology has gotten better
Mhm.
since we've made that transition, and we've used several different platforms to help us, and we've hacked a couple different other softwares together. But the technology has allowed us to grow the business exponentially, to be more efficient. And now we're even looking at new ways with some new software partners that we're working with to say, how can we do this even better? How could we leverage, data better? How can we have better systems in place? How can our team members get more efficient, service our clients better? And then we use social a lot. So the internet played a big role to be able to tie those pieces together. The technology piece, connecting it with social, it worked out well.
In terms of attracting letting people know what you could do for them and, and expanding the customer base, client base.
Yeah. So when we made that separation between the two businesses to say, hey, we're going to create a business that's totally service based for the clients,
Hmm.
we built that business on Instagram and Facebook. Like
Okay.
I had no clue. And trust me, I'm one of those people back in the day that said, I'm never using social media. I'm not getting on it. I'm not using it. I'll just use it for business, but I'm not using it for my personal. I was one of those people. Yes, call me out on it. I totally do. And now I post on a bunch of platforms on a regular basis.
That's funny.
So I knew it was working when two things happened. When I would get DMs at like 12:30, 1 o'clock in the morning, and it would be potential clients saying, come pick up my laundry. And I was like, okay, it kind of doesn't work that way. You need to go to our website and place an order.
Okay.
And then when someone walked in our store one day and was like, if I see your ads in my Facebook feed one more time, we're going to have a problem. So then I was like, I think I'm on to something with this social media thing. So we just kept posting, we kept learning. We looked at what worked, what didn't work. And to this day, like we still use that same approach. It's a constant learning process for us.
I want to pull out a couple of things there. So yeah, we're talking about his business in the, laundry dry cleaning business, but business is business. So and so one of the things, this is kind of was similar to my topic. Part of my topic at the event was that your best investment is in your business. And so in efficiency so that you can create more velocity of money versus accumulation. And then the technology help you get more organized. He was in his business, looking at it, thinking about it, figure out, hey, I've got two businesses here. And then he worked on that. And see, so I call working on your game. Like I'm always working on my game. How can I tweak what I'm working on, like an accountability coaching program? Why? Because people keep asking me
Mhm.
for that. And you know what I mean? I'm like trying to, all right, how do I do this? How do I build a model around this? Would it be helpful? What would that be worth to you? And then I kind of let that dictate stuff. And so as you're hearing this, if you're in business or how can you become more efficient? I was like my father too, but he was not really, he was pushing me to go figure stuff out. What do we need? And so I wasn't really a battle with him because he was pretty innovative. We were delivering, for example,
Right.
groceries in the 70s.
See, yeah. Like I was trying to deliver back before it became a thing. And my family, and listen, family dynamics, like
Yeah.
when you work with family, it's very interesting.
Yeah.
They were like, well, I don't think one thing my dad would always say to me, and to this day, it still like mystifies me. He'd be like, I have ideas that you aren't ready for yet. I've got ideas that the community isn't ready for yet. And I'm like, I'm still waiting for some of my ideas to come out. So I just like, I'm a fan of just doing it.
Yeah.
So if you were doing grocery deliveries back in the 70s, like way ahead of the time. You were way ahead of time, which is a good thing. Like
Yeah.
you learn a lot from that, whether you're successful or not. You get a lot of information out of that.
Yeah, that kept us a lot because we were delivering up in the projects and there was a senior home up the street and they would call us and it's like Instacart right now. I'm talking about
Right.
from 70, mid 80s. We had been doing that. And that was a staple of we had a van, the whole thing. So our store was called Maze Market on the side. And that was like a major part of our thing. And now it's,
That's awesome.
it's fashionable. But my dad was thinking about this kind of stuff then.
Right.
And so it's funny how smarter your parents get the older that you get. And it's funny. I like that family dynamic because it's like I actually never got that go to school, get a good job talk. It was, boy, you'll never make any money, work for somebody else. And he wanted me to go to school, but I thought you majored in business to go into business. Like it didn't even occur to me to get a job.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
We won't get into discussion about school and business. And, oh, that's a whole nother conversation.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
I went to
don't
school
be-
for business and I changed my major really fast.
What to what? Tell me about, let's go there for a second. We'll go there.
Yeah, I started with a major in business. Then I was like, from growing up in business, when I sat in classes, I would be like, what are we talking about here? Like, this is not,
Yes.
this
You
is not
don't
what
even know what you're talking about. They're reading to you from a book. So you can tell
Right.
it's like, if somebody knows it's literally coming from inside out. But when you see them at the lecture hall, it's like from the paper through their mouth, but no substance to it. That's how I feel.
Yeah. I was like, you listen, the case studies, like the stats and the data they were talking about, I was like, I get it. Like, you're talking about IBM and other companies at that time. And I was like, okay, that makes sense. But if we're talking about like small business management and business administration, I was like, these kind of aren't the things I see my family doing in a business.
Right.
And I was like, yeah, just I don't see how this is going to give me practical knowledge to go apply when I get back home
Hmm.
after studying here for 4 years to grow the business. So yeah, school, like I'm a fan of school, depending on what your goal is. Like you're a doctor, a dentist, like
Right.
lawyer, like
Right.
you got to go to med school, law school. Like those things you have to do because it's just a prerequisite. But in business, like I'm not saying someone shouldn't go and learn because there's a lot of programs that are and business courses that I think are super valuable.
Hmm.
It provides people with a lot of information. And it's good to study history. Like studying history of businesses, I think is super important.
Yes.
But a lot of that, like you can just pick up a book and read that people don't really realize or take advantage of. Or like get on the internet, listen to podcasts. People get interviewed who are in business tons of times. You can listen to it and watch it and get that knowledge. But college, it was great. But the biggest thing I learned in college from my senior year, one of my senior year professors is it's the network. And he lived in Brooklyn for a while. So we made a huge connection because he's like, hey, you're from Brooklyn, New York. I lived there for a while. He would just call me Brooklyn. He would not call me by my name. He'd just be like, Brooklyn, do this, Brooklyn, do that. And he showed me the power of having connections and networking with people and building those relationships. And that was the biggest takeaway from college. Like I made a lot of great relationships, but that
Mhm.
professor really gave me that big takeaway. And I've been trying to practice that and do that throughout my business career.
Yeah, my dad used to tell me it's not what you know, it's who you know. And, I try to impress upon that to my kids. One of my oldest daughter is like a social beast, right? So she
Mhm.
like kind of gets that, and I'm just trying to, all right, let's build on your natural thing already, because that's where it's going. Because she's at Duke, so it's like it's a bunch of who you knows there,
Getting
right?
the greater
But
part.
then it's like who knows you, and that's
Right.
really the key. So, because one of the things we talk about is you got to invest. Your number one asset is you, right? And so you have to invest on purpose on your mindset, your skill set, and your network. That's what makes money. Who do you know? And to your point, who knows you? So let's talk about. So I'm gonna ask two things. You can answer them one at a time, which they're in my mind before I lose it. So one is between what you learned in doing the business and what you share on your podcast and in your business consulting, what are some of the things you see you wish you knew starting out that you see that mistakes that people are making now? And then I want you to expand on the networking thing. So those are the two. I want to kind of get them out there. We'll come back to it, but thinking like that.
Yeah. So the first one, things people ask me that I wish I knew. That's a good one. And it's kind of hard for me to answer. And it's also because here's how things kind of happen for me, Curtis.
Hmm.
People were like, "Oh, what's a mistake you made, or like, what's your regret that you wish you could go back?" Like these things happen, and my whole mindset is, I care, but I don't care because
Hmm.
it's happened, and I'm like, I need to move on to the next thing. And then the other part of it is too, if X didn't happen to me, would I be on this podcast with you?
Hmm.
Or if X didn't happen, would I have created the soapbox? So I look at it to say those things happen to put me in a place now that I am. And I can think of a bunch of things like where I I wasn't gonna say yes to. I was gonna like, nah, I'm not gonna do that. And then I said yes. And then when I look back, because I said yes to this one thing, I had this huge ripple effect that turned out to be
Hmm.
great and turned out to be positive. And I'm like, if I had said no, would I still be where I am? Would I still be where I am now? Or would I have these same great connections with individuals that I made because I said yes? Like if I didn't go to the conference, more than likely we probably wouldn't be doing this podcast. Like
Right.
we wouldn't have made that connection and developed a relationship. So when I look at that, and if I had to choose one thing when I listen to, other business owners or individuals who want to start a business, it's waiting.
Mm.
If I had to choose one thing, like I listen to people tell me some great ideas, and we know ideas are only part of the equation. There's execution, there's a whole lot that goes with it. But they just wait. And like we pontificate and we just keep talking and we keep talking. I'm like, just do. So if I had to choose one thing, I would just say that I did more at those times. Like I'm a huge fan of just doing it, I tell a team at the store or at Johnson Security when we're working, I'm like, just do it. And
Right.
they're like, well, we need to plan this. I'm like, okay, I'm not saying we shouldn't have preparation, we shouldn't have a plan, but no plan will ever be perfect. So let's just start. And then as we go, let's fix it. Like, if you talk to any of our team members, or anybody that knew me when we were first starting the laundry out, when we took over from my dad in 2015, I was like, I'll never do pickup and delivery. Like, for some reason, it was drilled into my head when I was younger, like, oh, it's the logistics, it's too much, it's too complicated, it's too expensive, and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, I'll never do it. And now that's all we do in that part of business. We do walking, but pickup and delivery is like the bulk of our business.
Mm-hmm.
So it's, to me, it's doing. Those are the things I'm just like, just start. Just go out there and do it.
Yes, that's perfect because my dad used to tell me you learn by screwing up, right? So you got to try stuff, make mistakes, and adjust. And too many people want to be perfect. And I said, listen, you just got to start. Somebody told me a long time ago in business, I think I probably heard in my 20s, activity produces knowledge. Knowledge does not produce activity. And so you kind of got to get out there and beat your head against the wall. And my dad said, look, don't just make new mistakes.
Right. Don't keep making the same one.
Right.
Over and over.
They made new mistakes, but then
Please
you
don't.
try stuff. I think of stuff like I got the invite to come to the thing, but I had to come out of pocket and order $700 or $800 worth of swag that came late. So that's why there wasn't my stuff in the bag. It was waiting for me when I got home. Right. But now I got a bunch of stuff to give away, water bottles and notepads and pens. I've got 300, 400, 500 of those things.
Save it for next year.
Yeah, for next year. But I'm definitely coming back if I'm invited. I think I'll be invited. But yeah, that's good stuff. So what else can we talk about? Tell them about the show and some of the things that you talk about and maybe some of your consulting, some of your favorite things you like to discuss.
Yeah. So the Commerce and Chill it's an open dialogue. Jess and I get on the podcast. We shoot it every week. I think we're up to like episode, I don't know, we're close to 200, probably high 100s now.
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad the team is not in the room with me right now because they'd probably be like, how you don't know what number we're on? And we just talk. Like we'll have a meeting either the week before, a couple of days before the podcast with one of Everett, who's the manager of our media team. And we'll talk about some topics and then we'll agree on one. And then we'll put together a little, game plan of, points to talk about. And it could be anything from stuff that's happening in our business right now. We might drift off during the episode, depending on what mood one of us is in based on what's going on in the different businesses. So it's really an open conversation that we have. Sometimes it gets a little heated. Like I can think of a couple episodes where Jess and I had different points of view about things in the business that we work on every day. So like Jess and I are partners in both businesses. We ride into work every day and ride home together every day. We share our office, so our desks are probably like 4 feet apart from each other.
Right.
So we're in each other's presence constantly. And then we go home, and like home becomes an extension of work at times, depending on what we're working on or talking about. So the podcast encompasses all that. And then we'll get questions from our community about what they're doing in business or what we're doing. So we just like to just have that open dialogue to tell a story really. Like you'll go and you'll listen, you'll go on social, Instagram, LinkedIn, wherever, and you'll see one image of people in their business or what they're saying is going on in their business. And our goal is to tell it exactly like it is. It's good. It's going to be good on these days and it's going to be bad on some other days. But our goal is to be like the S&P. Over a 10, 20-year period, you want to average up higher than you are lower. So it's real discussions about what really goes on. We're not looking to gloss it. We're not looking to make it look all fancy, like, oh, you can get a laptop and sit on the beach and run a business and make a 7-figure income. We talk about
because there's too much of that out there. Most people don't want to do the work. That's what I get. I get a lot of people and they suffer from what I call short-term thinking. Right. And I was talking to somebody, I want a new client. She's like, well, I just wanted to leave my job and become financially free. And one of my new favorite sayings now is Rome wasn't built in a day. Right. And, you got to do some work. One of the things that helped me early on, my dad told me I heard from the time I was literally like 8, it takes 3 to 5 years to build a business. And so I carried that. So I expected, and now you could be making money, but he was like, in order to get your money back, you didn't have enough money. He used to say, look, you got to have enough Because one time we were going somewhere, it was a friend in his store that was down in like maybe 6 or 7 blocks down the street, and I would notice somebody else had that store a little while ago, and I said, "Why these businesses open and close up?" He says, "Well, it takes 3 to 5 years to build a business. Most people have enough money to open the doors, but they
That's
don't
it.
have enough capital to stay afloat until the business catches on, or they don't restock. They spend the money, they wanna buy a car, and they wanna," and that stuck
They
with
don't
me.
reinvest
They
it.
don't
Yeah.
reinvest into the business. And do you see much of that? Or how does that manifest itself in your industry or in industries that you maybe consult with or share information with?
Yeah, so it's a little interesting for me. One, and I'll probably catch some flack for this. So I agree you should know what your market is doing, and people say what your competitors are doing. Like, I really don't pay attention. So like I'll look at some of the market data and then I'm just like, whatever. Because if I'm too focused on that, I'm not focused on building what we're trying to accomplish here. Like what
Yeah.
I'm not focused on servicing my client. So I listen to the other people in the industry or in other businesses. They'll be like, yeah, my competitors are doing this or my competitors doing that. And I should be doing what they're doing. And I'm like, you should be doing what's good for your client. I'm so big on focus on what the client needs and wants. And to speak to the other point you said, I see too where they want to get in and they want to see this fast return. The internet has been, listen, the internet is great. It's created a bunch of opportunities for people to build a business with very little resources that in the past they would have had to spend a ton of money. They're able to reach people and do all types of things. I think the internet is great. The other part of it is though people look at it and they see parts of what's going on it. Like this person has a business and they're making 7 figures, they're making 6 figures in this short amount of time. That's not the norm.
Mm,
And then
correct.
some of those who are doing it, they're making those numbers because they're selling the stuff to people who want to get it really fast when there really is no shortcut. And I've caught flack. I've heard about it. They're like, well, you're too old school. And in a new way, you could listen. I know people who have SaaS products, who have e-com businesses, and they've raised money or they put their own money in, they've borrowed from their 401ks, etc. It's a process,
Right.
and you got to build the business the right way. You got to listen to your clients. You got to listen to what the business needs. It's like I like comparing it to growing a plant. You can't just like water it today and then come back a month later and be like, let me water it some more. It's
Right.
probably going to be dead,
Right.
right? You got to look at the signs. What does it need? And you got to nurture it. You got to grow it. You got to take care of it. Business is the same way. You got to be in tune. You got to listen to what it wants, what it needs. What is it telling you? And you have to react to it and also be proactive to it.
Right. Right. I like that, because if you're I was what's this book called? It was a book I was reading by Dan Sullivan called DOS Innovations, and one of the things that I focus on is I don't really worry about competition either because I don't have a competition because I'm unique, right? And I focus on solving what I call the aspirational goals of my clients, right? So
Uh,
as long as they're my number one priority, they're not going anywhere else because nobody's taking the time to focus on helping them being valuable to them and helping them get what they want. See, because
Right.
if you give them what they want, what people don't get, and this was big for the conference for me with Dave. If like I always tell people, money follows value, and I think you said this also, right? And so
100%.
right, and so if you want to make more money, you've got to focus on solving more problems, creating more value, because money is the result. So too many people think money is the goal. Money is just green paper you exchange for goods and services, right? It's an idea.
It's a byproduct.
Yeah, it's a
Money is
byproduct. That's it.
it's a total, like people don't get it. Like if you're focusing just on the money, like I respect it. That's for you. Kudos to you. But you will never reach your goal.
Right.
I'm telling you, you will never reach your goal. I know people who've got buku ridiculous amounts of money, and I know people who have very little. And you will, if money is your primary focus, you will say, this is the dollar amount I need, and that's my goal. And you will shoot for it and you will hit it. I hope you hit it. And then when you get there, you're going to be like, that number is going to change, or that money is going to be like, oh, that's not really what it was about when I reached that. It's going to be something else. Money, if you're giving value, like you said, you're creating something that people truly want and appreciate and interact with, and it enhances their life or their business, whatever it is, you will get the money for it. So like you asked me about consulting. Like I don't really consult in the traditional sense. And when I say it is people call me, people like I'll tell the people 2 hours, an hour. I don't charge anything because my goal is I want to give back as much as what's been given to me.
Mhm.
So I talk to tons of great people in the laundry industry and in small business
I know
or
you're up
in
till what, 2
business.
o'clock in the morning talking to those young guys from Florida or something, right?
Yeah. And then like I was on the panel the next morning at whatever, like 9 something 10. And I'm just like, they're in a great position.
Mhm.
And I'm not even saying I was giving them guidance or I'm just sharing what we did that
Yeah.
worked and
Yeah.
what we did that didn't work. So when I hear them saying we're doing this, and I'm like, yeah, listen, we did that, and this is the outcome. I'm not saying whether you should do it or not, but let me share what happened. And here's some things we did that I know work. Go do those and grow your business so you could be even in a better place. Like I love talking to other business owners or people who want to become entrepreneurs and just telling them what it's really about. And I do it for 100% free
Right.
because at the end of the day, that's what really gets me going. Like I talked to an operator who was at the conference with us last week, and he's telling me about actually one emailed me. We talked about a prospective client he was pitching while he was at the conference. And he was like, what do you think? Like, how should I price it? And I was like, try X, Y, and Z. He emails me back like 2 days after the conference, and he's just like, I got the client, and the client ended up signing up with me for 2 different proposals, not just one. And it like to me, that's the win. Like that gives me more of a high than if you said, oh, let me write you this check.
Right, right. It's that for me, it's like when I start teaching them basics about money, because look, 2 plus 2 is 4. This stuff is not that complicated. The financial industry makes you think it's complicated because their business models basically give your money to us, right?
Yeah.
Because
Like
you
give it
don't
to me.
understand it. Give it to
Don't do
me.
it yourself.
Right.
Right.
And so when the light bulb goes on where they get it that I'm empowering them to think, not telling them what to think. That's that's a win for me. That's why I love that. It's like,
Right.
"Oh, thank you for your time." I was like, "Dude, this is what I do." So
Yeah.
this
Like I
is
want people to win.
yeah, I want people to
Like,
win. And so then see, if you come from what I call not from I think you mentioned this too, not from a mindset of scarcity. That was what's interesting about that conference, because if you have a prosperous mindset, then you understand, because winners understand this. There's more than enough for everybody to have more than enough, and you don't have any competition.
there's way more. Like,
Yeah.
listen, if we just talked laundry in my neighborhood alone, there are 150,000 people that live in my neighborhood. Just the neighborhood where my store is. I'm not even talking about all of Brooklyn or all of New York City.
Mhm, mhm.
Just where my store is, 150,000. You're telling me if 150,000, they're all not going to send their laundry out. But if we got lucky and said 50,000 out of 100,000 send out their laundry, you're telling me that's not 50,000 people making an order once or every other week is not enough for myself. And let's say, I don't know, there are 50 other stores in my neighborhood to live off of. Listen, 50,000 people making an order once or twice a week, you're doing more than living. Trust me, my friend, in the laundry industry,
Mhm.
50,000 orders running through your store all week, you're doing very well, very well. So it's just like you touched on it. We talked about at the conference. When you change the mindset from their competitors, it's not enough. Like I listen, you heard me at the conference. I was telling people some of the stuff that we do in our store, and other people are like, you do that? And why would you tell people that? I almost want to tell some of the stuff that we do because now it forces me to get even more creative to say,
Yeah.
what's the next thing? Because
Yeah.
now I share that with you, you go do it. And while you're doing that, I'm already cooking up the next idea. So now by the time you catch up to what I was already doing, I'm already rolling out the new thing and already got that thing going. We've been doing it the whole time we've been in the industry.
Mhm.
And in our laundry business, we just kept saying, what can we do different? And then what can we do better for the client? Yeah, sometime I would go and like people tell me, oh, the competitors charge this or they just, I just had my manager text me to tell me about a team member who left us and is working at another store who's technically our competitor, but also a partner. And I'm just like kudos. Like I'm glad she has a job, but at the same time, I don't care because focusing on that
Right.
and talking about it takes us off what the goal is. It takes us off what the focus. And in business, we get caught up. Sometimes, just in life, we get caught up on the things that are taking us over here versus the things that are getting us closer to our goal. Like All right, that happened. It's over with. Let's move on to the next thing. Just let it go.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's fantastic. So what's on the horizon for you? What are you working on that you're excited about?
Well, I have the shiny object syndrome, Curtis. So like, I don't know if it's a curse or a blessing. Like we'll start a new project. I love it. And I have bursts of attention and enthusiasm. So we'll
Mhm.
start a new project. I'm on it 100%. Then I'm like, okay, team, like you got it going. Okay, good. I'm out of here. I'm going to work on
Or
start the
something
next
else.
thing.
Right, right.
Yeah. And I don't know if it's a curse or a blessing. When it comes to other businesses, I think it's a blessing because I get to talk with other business owners and see what's going on. I get to learn even more. I get to share more. But I love learning and listening to what other businesses are doing and then saying, how do we grow on top of that? Or how do we take something from the restaurant industry and put it in our business? So right now we're really looking at this initiative we started. We're one of the few laundry service businesses in the United States that works with the gig economy workers,
Hmm.
where we exclusively do our pickup and delivery using gig economy workers like DoorDash, Postmates, Uber, et cetera, et cetera. So typically in the laundry industry, everybody has their own drivers to do pickup and delivery. We've moved away from that model and we use 100% gig economy workers, and it's been great. It's been new. So we're super excited about that to see how we can continue to grow and expand that and share those experiences with other operators. I get a ton of phone calls and messages about how do you do that? How do you control this? Like that can't be a good thing. Like, are they going to take laundry on a bike, etc.? Jess and I are working on some new initiatives too to start some new businesses. You mentioned in the intro about, and I'm probably going to misquote you about the where you talk to individuals about building income. You said business.
Real
You said
estate.
away from Wall Street.
Right. Yeah.
Business,
Business, real estate, paper, and commodities. Those the four
Right,
asset
right.
classes. Mhm.
So like we're really into that. We have real estate. We invest in real estate, but I'm super interested now, and I'm like really trying to break into the paper side of the real estate business. I'm super interested in notes and mortgages. And not, let me be clear, not writing mortgages. I don't listen. I was a real estate
Buying the
agent for
notes.
like
I've done a
right
couple of
eight,
shows on
nine.
that. One of my young clients, he started out. I'll give you a quick story. So all I do is teach people to save money, right? I don't tell them what
Right.
to invest in. I just position you so when you find something you like, you can do it. So he calls, Curtis, I just bought an ATM. It's like, well, he's like 27, right? And so fast forward 12, 13, 14 months later, he's got 8 of them,
Yep.
generating $600 a month in fees, right? So now he's got that rocking. And then so I've got him saving 15, 20% of his income. He says so he was looking at real estate and then he finds this sub market of notes. And then he's going to Texas for this note conference, note conference. And then he uses the insurance strategy we teach, the be your own bank he borrowed against
Yep.
his cash value. And he buys notes. Now he's a full-time note investor. We just get a lot of people don't know you can go to the asset managers and get on these lists and you can buy them 60, 70 cents on the dollar or less if they're what they call not performing, right? Where you got to go in and he's got a whole team of people that call us and get some performing. And once they pay, that's his money. He's the bank. So he
Yeah.
says, I don't care about toilets, termites, or tenants.
Like I'm super interested in notes now and trying to carve out time to do more research and talk
Mhm.
to more people who are in it. And to me, what our projects too is I'm always looking at what's the other group doing? And when I say the other group, like in that case, the banks, anybody I'm giving money to, I want to understand what they're doing on their side. So like I pay the mortgages every month and I'm like, I write all these checks for mortgages, well, ACH or whatever.
Mhm, mhm.
And I'm like, what's going on that side of the equation? Like, how do I get into that? Like, okay, everybody knows real estate. You buy a building, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, okay, cool. Been there, done that. What's the next thing? What's the other side doing? So those are projects that I'm always like super interested in. We're investing in. We have a angel fund with a couple of great individuals, and we're always looking at businesses and entrepreneurs who don't get, I don't want to say a fair shake, but they don't get the exposure in the investment market like they should. So
Mhm.
we're looking at them. We listen to pitches every couple of weeks. There's some great people out there with great businesses and they just need capital. And access to capital is huge. Like
That's the
it's
number one problem I see in working with
the
clients is the access capital. Well, there's two things. It's capital of your own that you can access, and then it's access
right.
to other people's capital, right?
It's tough.
Yeah.
And if you start breaking the groups down and you're looking at people of color, it's super tough for them on the tech side or in the venture to get money to invest in their business. It's just, they're not looked at in the same way. So we're super excited about doing that. We just had Bank of America come on with us and invest money in the fund. So it's great times.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, it'd be greater times when we're able to put that capital into more of these businesses for them to grow. So yeah, and I'm just always on the lookout for meeting great people to see what that next great project is going to be. And great doesn't mean it's going to be a great return for us.
Mm-hmm.
It could just great interaction, a great network, great people. Because those are the things that compound and lead to you meet someone, you get involved in it, and maybe we do a deal together and we only get a small return. But that relationship turns into something powerful that leads to two more deals that 10x.
Yeah.
Like those are the things I love. It's just meeting the great people and building those relationships and then watching where they grow.
See, that's investing, and it's I always tell people sometimes you have to pay to be in the right room, right? So you're like going to an event that costs money, and so you can go to free network events, and those are great. And you start there, but sometimes you got to get out of town, or you got to go where people have spent money to go, and then now you've got real. I've met so many great people at the conference that it was awesome. I'm thinking about going to the Clean Show, right? So
Yeah.
down in Atlanta, get a booth or something, right? And I like going
I
because
gotta
no
book
other
my
financial
tickets.
people going, right? It's like nobody's
I
there.
want
You
I'm
know?
willing to bet. Like I have to look at the vendor list again for this show. I'm willing to bet there's not a lot of financial people there, if any. I see insurance and some other industries, but I'm willing to bet if you went there, you probably be one of zero because there
Right,
won't be any
right.
others there,
That's right.
or one of a very
And
few.
see,
And I think
that's
that would
what
be
I look
good.
for to be strategic, and it would be better if I could go and speak, right? But even if I'm there and have a table or something like that, and now I know some people there, and then now you're in a situation where there's no not there's even if there are other people there, they don't do what I do, but there's no competition. So I like that. And so I think the lesson here, guys, so hopefully you'll walk out of this, and I want you to hear his thought process of constantly innovating, not worrying about competition, and focusing on your customers. See, all that stuff is universal. So, well, yeah, I just want to make sure they're getting out of this where I want them to get out of it. So,
Oh yeah, I'm sure.
no,
But I'm just thinking of what you just said. If you went to Clean Show and you packaged your piece as how you can be your own bank, as you talked about earlier, and use that to buy the equipment for your store or to retool your store to put new equipment or to renovate your store. Like I can see people flocking to your table to say, okay, so I buy this product that becomes this financial instrument for me. And I can, its goal is to do this for me, but I can also use it to do these 2 or 3 other things to help me grow my business. Like, yeah, you have a nice crowd
and
at
you
your
talk
table.
about what's the other side doing. Now you get to recapture the profits that they're making off you, because that's where banks store their tier one capital and permanent life insurance. You talk about,
Right,
and so my main message is, look, stop doing what they tell you to do and do what they do.
right.
And what they teach you is the complete opposite from what they do. So
So
it's that curiosity. I'm look,
you deliver that message at Clean Show. Like people are going to be at your booth signing up quick, fast.
all right. Well, I
'Cause
got the link. I'm gonna go and see what the exhibit cost is.
hopefully it's
So
not too much.
listen, but then it's like, all right, well, it costs this, but what's the opportunity? So it's not what
What,
it costs. What's the investment, right?
right. What's the opportunity on return you'll get from it?
Which usually it might be one client. So, and I know I'll do more better than that. And so,
But where could that one client, it might be one client you get from Clean Show, but
right.
then that one client leads to 5 more because they put you in their network.
Yeah.
And that's where we discount it. Listen, I had this big discussion in my store with some of the team the other day. Someone came in and they were getting some sneakers cleaned, and they were like, yeah, listen, we had this gentleman's sneakers in our store for 3 weeks. And that is not our normal turnaround. They came in and I drove home to the team. I was like, you treat everybody as if. And that's it. That's our thing. You treat everybody as if they're the president, as if they're the superstar, as if they're your mother, as if they're a family member, they're your best friend. You treat them as if. because you don't know where that interaction is going to lead to. And this gentleman's sneakers came in. I looked at them. I was like, team, these are not going out. Redo them, do this. And they were like, wait a minute. Did it? I was like, I don't want to hear it. I cut everybody off and I was like, redo them. We spent 3 weeks. We stripped them down, reworked them. We ended up repainting the entire sneaker.
Wow.
Like 3-4 times until we got it the way I wanted it. Then the team decides to show me the pictures of what they looked like when they first came in. And I was like, why didn't somebody show me this in the beginning? What they did was perfectly acceptable. But I was like, you keep pushing because you don't know. Come to find out, sneakers get returned to the gentleman. He makes an unboxing video of them at his office and shares it on their internal communication channel. The video goes viral inside of their company. And then people are reacting and contacting us and like, wow, that was great. Like, we saw what they look like. It literally like he wore these sneakers horseback riding and then sent them to us. And now they're like, they look almost new. And it's so important that you treat everything as if. You don't know what that's going to lead to. People, we get into these habits, especially in business. We're like, oh, it's just a client. That client is only worth $10 or $100, whatever your average transaction is. People don't look at what the average transaction is for that customer for the year. They'll look at that one transaction. Oh, they're only buying a candy bar for 50 cents, or they're only buying one car. Like, what does that lead to?
Right.
What could
the
that
lifetime value of them? And then Dan Case used to call this thing, it's an old sales thing called endless chains of like, so if you get a referral and I get a referral, and the key is not to break the chain of always adding new people to that. And it's like, that's like what I call basics, block and tackling in business. And there's so many people don't master the basics. And we're talking about before we started recording, understanding what business they're really in, which is the marketing business. I don't care what business you're in. I don't care if you're the pastor of a church, you're in the marketing business.
You're right. Like in businesses today, especially, and I'm going to speak small businesses, we have a huge advantage because the internet has leveled the playing field for us.
Yes.
You can build a website, you can have a great online presence, and somebody goes there and they will think you are the biggest, most professional shop in the world based on your online presence. Or they could go there and they could think the opposite too. You have the advantage with the internet to build the presence that you want and then create the content that you want to put out on these different platforms to drive home the message to current clients and potential clients to say who we are, how we service you, the advantage. Like before you couldn't share, like you can share testimonials these days so easy. Back in the day, you talk about your parents' business delivering groceries in the 70s. Like it was word of mouth. Wherever that delivery van drove to and people saw the wording on
in the local little
neighborhood paper,
those little papers.
Right. The little penny savers.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
It was they see maize on the van and in
that's
it.
That's
And if nobody picked it up, or if a customer in the apartment building had a great experience getting their laundry, their groceries delivered, they tell the person on the third floor or their neighbor next door. And then maybe you get one more client from there. But today I can take your Google review, repurpose it, put it on Instagram, put it on LinkedIn, put it on Facebook, put it anywhere I want and reach hundreds of people, thousands potentially for free because social media don't cost. And then if I decide to put some ad dollars behind it, look out. I can reach uncountless amounts of people. So the internet it's just leveled the playing field, and small businesses, we so have to take advantage of it. Like we really need to get on it and make sure that we're using it to the fullest extent for us to grow and maintain our business.
That's everything. Listen, I'm gonna let you have the last word with that because that's a key thing. So listen, I want to respect for your time because I think we're going about an hour. Like people say, well, how long is your show? I was like, till I get tired of talking to somebody.
We get tired of talking.
And or I feel we run out of things to talk about, which I don't feel like, but I want to bring you back. So we'll talk some more. And Waleed, so thank you. And so tell them how to follow what you're doing and where if they want to reach out or follow your stuff or listen to your podcast, tell them where to go.
Sure. So our podcast, Commerce and Chill, we're on YouTube, we're on Apple, we're on Google Podcasts, all the listening platforms, your favorite. You can go there, download it, listen to it, watch it on YouTube. You can contact me. My website is waleedcope.com. I'm mostly active on LinkedIn. Instagram, you can always catch me there. Love to connect, love to talk about business and just share best practices, like so we can all win this together.
All right, that sounds good, guys. So we'll put all this in the show notes. And if you like this episode, please leave us a review and share it so we can get this good word out and go out there and make it a prosperous day. And thanks again for listening to the Practical Wealth Show. Thanks, Waleed.
My pleasure. Thank you, Curtis.
Thanks for listening to Practical Wealth. To access the show notes and resources, go to practicalwealthshow.com. To get your questions on the show, go to practicalwealthshow.com. This show is for entertainment purposes only. Before you make any investment decisions, consult a professional. This show is copyrighted by Practical Wealth. Written